Hey, CoupleyFit fam. Welcome back to another episode. Today we are talking about the 6 phases of marriage. Marriage is a series of seasons. Some are easy, some test you, but every stage builds foundation for the next.
You don't want to miss it.
All right, let's jump in. Woo! If you listened to our last episode, we talked about how to keep the spark alive after the honeymoon phase. But let's get into the honeymoon phase, which is 0 to 2 years. Now, in the honeymoon phase, it's all about love. It's romance. It's fresh. It's fun. It's all of the amazing things that you can think of. But you might also be ignoring some red flags during this phase. You may have seen some things and you're like,
Reality
is this a yellow or is this a red?
Yeah, no, and the reality sets in. When you're in the 0 to 2, you're now in a situation where, depending on if y'all lived together beforehand, it's settling in, right? Like, because now it's not just the fun times of like you're pulling up on me or I'm pulling up on you. Like, no, we're really here. And also, how do people operate when you do have those moments where maybe you argue or you have some bad days or a bad day or whatever? What does the energy in the house look like and what are the vibes like? Right. Because now 2 years in, it's like, man, sometimes when we've talked to people and they're like, yo, I'm rethinking it all.
Yes. You're absolutely right. Sometimes, right, during this phase, you can be skipping those deep conversations.
And a lot of time, what are some of the ways?
Because I'm having so much fun. This is so fresh. It's exciting. Oh, my, I love this.
And to that point,
I've got my wifey cup.
It's the wifey cup, right? Or the hubby hat.
Yes, we're wearing matching hubby and wifey sweatsuits.
And the likes and the comments and the social media buzz from the wedding photos and all that.
Oh, yeah.
2 years, that buzz has already.
When you start hitting that 2-year mark, we're past.
We've already passed that initial buzz and excitement. Maybe it's I'm now a new parent.
Correct.
That could be a thing. That's a lot of people's next phase. And we're seeing we're seeing 2 things happen. Some people are waiting to start the family because either they're working on the foundation or they're building career. But then there's other people that are like, yo, I'm jumping into the baby phase because like we have to.
Right.
Like some people think of it as like a life raft. Like we're going to now love this being.
Yes.
But then we hear from the couples that are 20 years married or 17, it's like, yo, the kid just went to college and now we're like,
empty nesters.
Who am I sitting in the house with now that the kid's gone?
Correct. And that's why there is a jump in divorces, unfortunately, when kids do end up going to college. The kids were the glue. We hear it's also we weren't dating and intentionally dating throughout that time, which in the honeymoon phase, that is a great time to start those habits. And if you're listening to this episode, we want you to quickly go back to our last one where we talked about how to keep the spark alive after the honeymoon phase. That's going to really be able to give you some great ideas on how to date intentionally, how to make sure that you're having micro habits that are leading you down a road of keeping your marriage intact, and also keeping it to a point where you're choosing that person every day.
And normalize keeping your responsibilities low. Like you already have the responsibility of the marriage. You don't have to immediately get a dog.
Right.
You don't have to immediately get a house. You don't have to immediately start having kids and start a family because those are all added responsibilities, bills, financial. Like, and some of them can be burdens. Like how many times have we heard somebody like, man, my dog ate something and they're at the vet, or like, man,
that's money, right?
That's money. I got this house and the AC went out and something just happened.
Especially right now in the climate, people are house broke.
So many, so often, because
many people are house broke
society will tell you, and we just
need to have a house.
And we just said this conversation.
You need to have kids as soon as you get married. You need to have the dog.
And a great example,
the white picket fence.
The white picket fence. And for some people that are like, all right, you're hitting too close to home. This is too much. Let's give another example of this that we just talked about, that people are seeing it right now with the red flags of school and like the education system of, man, they tell you to go to a 4-year school and get your degree and then go get your master's or your bachelor's. But you're like, now all of these people, this whole era of folks are like, yo, I'm $150,000, $200,000 in debt, student loans, and all of those jobs that they told me I was supposed to get, they're telling me I need experience. And I don't have any experience.
Correct.
And I'm not getting that job. And now I've got the real life experience in the role. And we're not knocking the 4-year degree route, right? And we both did that. But it's the same way where it's like, wait, there's other paths that you can take.
Correct.
Right? Like you can go
into get certified. You can take up a trade. You can
take an internship while you're in school.
Correct.
Go
and
to
that's
community
what Warren
college.
Buffett has mentioned too is, you want to take the least glamorous role, probably unpaid.
Yeah.
But learn as much as you can in that role, maybe get a mentor out of that role. Because what you're going to also find out is, do I like this? Is this an area and avenue that I want to continue down? So you're absolutely correct on so many of those phases.
And I just wanted to give some examples of that because a lot of times people are like, well, what do you mean starting off at the bottom and seeing if it's for you? Give me an example. And I know you can speak to this too when it comes to food and beverage, but we did food and beverage. I knew, I was like, this ain't for me. Like, I could put some stocks into some restaurant chains or something like that, but I don't need to be running like a cafe or a restaurant. Like, that's not my passion. I tried financial services. I do not want to be calling people I know asking them for money, not to borrow it, but to invest it. Like, right. I'm good. Right. But then another one, getting an internship in college with a law firm, I realized like, yo, I don't want to go to law school. Like, that's not for me. And sometimes the journey, it wasn't time wasted. I learned and figured out like, okay, what do I want to do? What are the things that I want to pursue? But it could be the same thing also in marriage of like having those discussions, figuring out like, hey, do we want to take on these additional responsibilities and all these things? I know one of the blessings that we have, like we have our plants and we got the self-watering plants. So if we get invited for an opportunity, hey, we want you guys to come to New York. Hey, do you want to go out in Vegas or do you want to extend your trip because there's this tremendous opportunity? Like we can make those moves, but we made sacrifices to be able to do that. And a lot of people see the moves, but don't see the sacrifices that come with it.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely correct. And especially when you're in the honeymoon phase, it's the glitz, the glam, the social media hype up, the
more smoke.
Yeah, right. But to your point, right? It's more smoke. We can just, clear that with our hand. And now what? Now we're left with, okay, we said I do. We this is real. Yeah. This is starting to set in. And that's when you start getting into year 2 through 5, which is called the reality check.
Ooh. You know who you're dealing with.
You know who you're dealing with.
Partner woke up without that makeup on, and you're like, who's this?
Yes. So again, right, we start talking about bills, routines.
But speaking of bills, though, and I don't, and just something on the bill tip that we hear so often coming out of that 0 to 2, now the interest rate on that wedding that you paid for, or that you put money down on, or the new car, or the new house, all of those consequences or decisions are now coming full circle. Were those good investments? That's exactly
you're feeling it.
That's where I'm getting at.
You're feeling it. And now don't get me wrong, right? In that 0 to 2, there's whether you're trying or not trying on the kid's side, or you end up, just rescuing and adopting a dog, right? There are situations that happen that it was just a timing and a circumstance thing. So we're not necessarily saying it from that aspect. We're saying if you can plan, try to plan as much as you can in that 0 to 2 phase, have those deep conversations. And we always mention, recently, I guess we've been mentioning that we have an episode that's called the Pre-Marriage Checklist. Yeah. Please check that out if you haven't already. Before you get married, these are the questions that you should be asking, because now when you're in the 0 to 2 phase, having those deep conversations, it's not awkward. We've been having these conversations. We've talked about this before we even got married, and now we're just building on what we said before if there aren't any changes. But in that 2 to 5 years, there's, like we said, the bills. You have a routine now. You know exactly how the other person's working. You know how I work. There could also be in the 2 to 5 years too, where you are adding a new routine. So that might be the time where you add the kids in, you add the dog in. If you are also in a position where maybe you're a little bit older too, because when we think of marriage, sometimes you think of younger people getting married, where that can be in your 20s and 30s. But what if you're in your
Any
40s,
age.
50s, 60s, right? Because you can get married at any age, which I love and appreciate. And I think everyone should find their person and get married if they want to. But now you're starting to see that we might be in a caretaking position as well. So now
somebody mama that moved in.
But it's not something that we necessarily talked about before. But I think I know that's something that we've been talking about recently. Now, don't get me wrong, we're 9 years in, but that's something we've been talking about recently, just as our, parents are getting older, some of our extended families getting older, and we're talking about like, hey, when we get our house, are we going to get a casita? Is this going to be, how do you feel about somebody's mom or uncle or whoever living with us? Like, literally, what are your feelings on it? Because this is a big decision.
And that's such a great call out, because that is one of those things
that needs to be talked about.
It's
more.
not talked about enough. And also go down the gamut of who this could be, because you mentioned a lot, but it could be grandparent.
Absolutely.
And then also in the current times that we're in, because I know they're talking about the jobs report, layoffs, right? And not just that.
And how we're seeing older people.
Older people are struggling, but also inflation. Let's also talk about if you fall on hard times, what does it look like if you got to move in with a parent or a
we've heard that. We have heard that, where people had to sell their house
and downsize, and you got to move in
and you have to move in with your parents for a little bit. But now it's I'm in my
childhood room.
I'm in my childhood room, my high school room, and my parents kept it the same. And now I'm in here with me, my wife, and my kids and my dogs. And it just, that needs to be talked about more.
And how do you
navigate that situation?
It's a lot easier when you hit the lotto. And you're just like, right? We got our own place. We got a house on the beach. Right.
And also, right, how if that person that's moving in, if they're able to contribute, how are they contributing? Because sometimes it's like, oh, well, if you just help with watching the kids, woo, like that in and of itself, that'll pay for everything. Don't even worry about it, because that's going to save us however much.
Everybody's got a job to do.
Correct. But I think that I just wanted to bring that up, because I don't think it's talked about enough. And, especially even my mom, she's been working in senior living for 30 plus years. Yeah. That's something that we've always heard over time is, hey, she said, I outright have seniors that live here where nobody visits them. Not a single family member comes to visit. So anyways, I digress. But in that 2 to 5 stage, the reality check, that's when the differences start to show up. So those ignoring of the red flags in their 0 to 2 years, we're starting to.
But let's also pause on
they're peaking.
Let's pause on the red flags that are peaking, right? You mentioned the differences. A perfect example, things that people may not have talked about, but if y'all are different religions, if y'all believe in raising kids different ways, one person is a what do they call it? They're gentle parenting,
right?
And another
your parenting
styles are, one person's a gentle parent, the other person's old school. And now
authoritarian,
and now you got a good cop, bad cop situation, and now someone's resenting the other.
Correct.
Because you feel like I'm always the one that's hard on the kid, or the kid comes to you more.
Absolutely.
Because you're the safe.
We hear that all the time.
So being on that same page, oh my gosh.
At least on what you need to be on the same page for. Because there are some times where, especially, right, depending on, there is a difference when you are parenting girls and when you're parenting boys. There is a difference. And so, how a father might parent his son, that's not necessarily the way that you should also parent your daughter, right? And so being able to talk about that, and so you may feel a certain way, but then I come over and say, hey, let me just give you a different perspective. I just want you to think about this, and then come and talk to me, right? And go from there. Because I know even something for me when I was younger, something that was always a back and forth was, when can she wear makeup? When can I wear makeup? When it's clothing, right?
When you turn 18.
And exactly, and that's what I'm saying. That's not necessarily realistic.
We turn 25.
That's not realistic. So anyways, right, so the differences start to show up. The romance is now starting to compete with your routines, because you can just get into the routine and you're going, and then you realize, like, where's the romance? When's the last time you've gone out on date night? When's the last time you got me flowers? When's the last time that, I was also able to maybe cook you a meal, if that's something that's part of your love language, or pour into you. That's something in that 2 to 5 range where, it's just those routines start to get more concrete.
And it becomes one of the things where you do have to be mindful about making it a priority and scheduling it.
Correct.
And for the fellas, like, if we really think about it, when you think about that question of, am I making it a priority, you don't miss the fantasy draft.
Come on now.
You're not missing DraftKings parlay.
Come on.
So if we can make sure that we get the picks in on time,
Yes.
and we can make sure that we get, we do our research and know all of the details on who we want to, pick up and all the things. I need you to know your wife the same way. I need you to know your partner, because this goes both ways, husband or the same way. That Tyreek Hill or Tom Brady. Like, I need you to be locked in like that.
TB12.
Come on. I need you to have your wife's, what do they call it, player card? I need you to have her player card of all height, weight, shirt size.
That's actually a good idea when you do.
That just came to me.
I know. When you do think about that and having, but again, that's similar to what we talk about with having your spouse's information in their contact.
Correct.
Or also maybe having a note section, because also at the same time, right, just as a woman specifically, because society plays such a role in our beauty standards and our body standards, we may shift, right, in weight and sizes and those things. And so kind of staying on top of that a little bit. And sometimes it's not even asking. Go in her closet. What does she typically wear?
I see she wore that sweater 3 times this week.
Let me see what size it is. And let me also maybe see where she got it from. I can, get her a gift card there or something of that nature. Yeah. It's really, to your point, everything that we talk about in marriage really comes down to, do you like the person? Do you like to be around them on a very simplistic basis? If you can be best friends, that's ideal, because at the end of the day, you can always fall back on, we are best friends. We're always going to get along. We think the same, right? All of those. But then also, how well do you know the other person? And are you actively trying to get to know them and know a new version? Because again, I always mention this, that you evolve, and whether you want to or not. Or you should
be evolving.
But whether you want to or not, you're going to evolve. So you can either evolve positively, or you can, just
progress or regress.
Right. So, but then also you talked a little bit about this too, in that 2 to 5 years, and we're talking about the reality check. You talked a little bit about conflict styles. You talked about parenting styles. You talked about communication gaps. Like, we are now starting to see the gaps in our communication. Yeah. And how are we going to fix this and nip it in the bud early?
And that's one of
the more you sit on it, the more you let it fester, it gets worse with time.
And a lot of people, that's what I think, there's these ticking time bombs that are waiting to go off, that people are dealing with in their relationship because it just stayed underneath the rug.
Yes.
And we've been there, right, on family stuff and different things where it's like, oh, sweep that under the rug. We don't need to talk about it. Why are you bringing that up?
But that's also avoidant.
Avoid it, right? And then, but here's the challenge, and we've seen this too. Then it gets to a point where, no, we're not going to, it comes up, right? Or that ticking thing, it goes off. Now it's all over. It's not just on the table. It's all over the room. And now how does everybody respond?
The elephant in the room.
Elephant in the room is literally in the room. And so then it becomes much more uncomfortable. So it kind of reminds us when we talk about choose your hard. It's hard to have the crucial conversation or the critical conversation. It's harder to avoid it and then potentially have a damage. Come on now, you're stuck in this cycle, or you have a negative impact on this relationship that you really wanted to be something that was going to flourish or continue to grow. And it's like, man, what happened? Well, man, that thing from 5 years ago just continues to rear its head.
Right. And to add to your point, you and I are huge advocates of therapy. So this may be a great time to individually go to therapy and figure out more about, what is my conflict style? What is my attachment style? That's something that's not talked about, is the attachment style. And how do you actually attach to somebody? Are you more on the codependency side?
Yeah.
Right? Are you more on the avoidant side? Where are you? But then also maybe let's take an extra step and go together. Let's see about maybe couples therapy. How will that work for us, and how we maybe need somebody that's going to be able to help us with the communication gaps, with the conflict styles, being able to know and understand where the other person is coming from without already having my 5 years of bias or of resentment in those things. Maybe we just need a mediator and somebody that can, well, what did you hear? This is what I heard. And then be able to just open up that conversation for you.
And that's important. And I think there needs to be a reduced stigma around going to see a therapist or going to marriage or couples therapy. And we're not talking about what you see on reality TV, because I just want to call out that a lot of times reality TV, although they mean well, you know, one aspect is
though?
well,
or is it for the ratings?
It's for the ratings, but I'm more so saying couple therapy is supposed to be helping people in their marriages or their relationships, but also they want people views and they want clicks and they want to be able to have people watch. So they're baiting people, right? They're getting things, but don't think that that's going to be your experience when you go see a therapist or a counselor. This can be as private as you want it to be. So you and your partner can go have the dialogue and conversation. It doesn't need to be on Facebook. It doesn't need to be a situation where everybody knows that you're in therapy and people think that y'all are struggling. No, it's literally, but if you think about it, just
you're
like
watering your grass.
That's exactly what I was saying. Just like if you're training for a marathon or preparing for a bodybuilding competition or a sport, you're going to go see, man, who's a coach or an expert or who's somebody that has more information than I do that can help me get prepared for this new journey or new path. And I know for us, premarital counseling was huge because, again, we're getting ready to embark on a journey that we've never been on before.
Right.
Can we give somebody,
and you maybe don't have the examples.
Can somebody look through the binoculars and be like, yo, this is what's up on the horizon?
Correct.
And it can help.
Correct. I do like, and I've talked about this before, but I do like Dr. Orna Couples Therapy on Showtime. She has 4 seasons. I highly, 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 highly recommend that whether individually or together, you sit down and watch that. She talks about everything. I mean, all of the true critical conversations that you have in a marriage, she talks about everything. And she does it in such a way that's calming, that's digestible, that when you also see it from being outside of you, it's like, oh, no, I resonate with that. No, that is me. Or, oh, that is my partner. And you're just able to get more insight. And although you may not be, because again, right, it does cost money for therapy. So if you don't have the funds, what are some other opportunities for you to be able to still get that impact? That would be one for me.
And I just want to also mention when it comes to the funds too, let's think about what we are prioritizing and where we need to invest.
Right.
Because if you're buying the newest chains or the newest Jordans or the newest, maybe you need to just go ahead and chill, pass on that new Jordan or sneaker release and invest that $150 or $100 into a counseling session and the flowers.
Yeah. Yes.
Do a twofer.
Yes, and the flowers. All right. Now we're jumping into the stage where most people quit.
This is not the title of the stage, is it? The quitting zone?
A little bit.
Dang.
So it's 2. This is 5 to 7 years.
5 to 7. Some people, this is where people be talking about on Facebook, doing hard time.
Doing hard time. I'm in here with the ball and chain. The 7-year itch. This is the disappointment and struggle stage.
These are the people that's talking about.
This is why most people get divorced during this phase right here, is because you're starting to now realize maybe this isn't what I expected. The arguments start to feel personal. Did I marry the right person?
You are seeing what your other prospects are doing with their life as well.
That's right.
It is dropping.
That's right. This also may be when you get a little bit curious about past partners. You may start looking on social media.
Where are they working at?
Where are they working at? What are they doing? How are they, how are they looking? All of the things.
But speaking of something you just said, how are you looking? You start talking about 5 to 7 years, and this reminds me of
and this is marriage, not if you were together 5 years before that. So this is just the marriage. This is just marriage.
So you could have 10 in, but this is the 5 years of marriage.
Yes.
Something that reminds me of the quote, time will either promote you or expose you. So the question becomes, what are you doing with that time? So for some people, 5 to 7 years
feels like hard time.
Don't even look like the same person.
That's right.
We done seen some examples, and it is like, whoa. And we hear spouses say it all the time, like, this isn't the same. We should do all of these things active together, and we did this and that. And now there's zero activity. Yes. And we see the stats, right?
That's building off of the 2 to 5, which is the reality check. This is building on top of that, which is why it's so important in each one of these stages that you are doing things intentionally, that you are doing things that are going to positively impact your relationship, because this is what, like you said, the binoculars on the horizon. We're telling y'all to just give you a little bit of insight. And don't forget, we're 9 years in. So we're going to be getting into the next phase of where we are at least. But just even up until this point, and then also you're starting to realize too, like, is this the life that I wanted for myself? Is this where I thought that I would be?
I heard a powerful quote this morning from David Goggins on a YouTube clip, and it basically said, when you get to the end of your life and you write the book or the story of your life, when you hand that book to somebody, are they left inspired? Mm-hmm. If the answer is not yes, they are inspired, it's time to rewrite that book right now.
And you can rewrite your book at any chapter.
At any point.
At
the
any
Colonel,
point.
Perfect example, KFC, the Colonel didn't break out with his idea to. He was like 60.
Yeah, I think it was 65
or 64.
I think it was 63.
Yeah, like, but if you think about that, the KFC that we know, to not have that idea or not launch it until you're 60, most people would have said.
And I believe he had 100 no's.
Most people would have said, bro, hang it up. You're cooked. It's over with, man. Let the chicken go. And he was
the
like,
chicken's cooked.
The chicken's cooked. Put a fork in it. And he said no, and look where he's at now. I mean, there's people eating KFC all over the globe.
Yeah. Yes. So 5 to 7 years, that's the disappointment, the struggle phase. It's also where you start looking like, okay, well, who's leading, right? Who's leading? Am I leading? Are you leading? Are we both leading in the areas that have the roles reversed? That's where you also start seeing that. Then there's also the, okay, well, I want to be a little bit more independent versus maybe being together. Because again, you're starting to realize, is this the life that I wanted? Is this what I was looking for when I got married? And now you're starting to really kind of almost take that bird's eye view, take a step back, look at your life. And that's why we also see in some photos, which I had when we first started dating, I had to let you know, but you start seeing the smiles that were happening in that, 0 to 2 in the honeymoon phase, they start dwindling. There aren't that many smiles. The parents aren't standing next to each other. The kids look like they're not necessarily happy.
Awkward.
It's, you know what I'm saying? And so this is actually the phase where most couples separate, where they have their biggest fights, where they are potentially getting divorced, is during this phase. So if you know this now, by us being able to give you some insight, going back to being intentional throughout each phase, knowing that, okay, well, let's work on these communication gaps now. Let's work on our conflict styles now. Let's work on these things now, preferably before, right, with our pre-marriage checklist episode. But you want to be able to stay on top of it, right? It goes back to us with sports. You should be doing the fundamentals every single day, like Steph Curry, like Tom Brady, like LeBron James. They're the GOATs for a reason. Yeah. So if you stay on top of your fundamentals and staying on top of your relationship like that, then you're going to start seeing when the 5 to 7 years comes, it's not going to be as difficult. We're not saying that you're still not going to have these thoughts, these actions, right? Or still having that bird's eye view and thinking, man, I wish I maybe went a different route. We're not saying that, but we're just saying that the choice is made. You're in it. You're 5 to 7 years. You're in it. You may have kids. There's other people now that are involved in this, and just being able to not quit, really.
Yeah.
Like, because that's what we hear all the time, is, maybe I should have just stuck through it. Maybe I should have, or right, I'm staying for the kids. That's another thing we hear often too. Yeah. But just being able to stay on top of your marriage is key.
And something that, another just quote that stuck with me about high achievers is that they make habits out of the things that most people don't like to do.
Correct.
So when you talk about those little habits, those micro habits, those behaviors, those decisions to, again, open the door, dump the trash, get the flowers, say I love you, give an extra hug, whatever that might be, that's like, oh man, it's a micro, not that you don't want to do it, but just making a habit of it. Because most people are like, who wants to make a habit out of taking out the trash? I don't. Mm-hmm. I'd love to never take out the trash. But like, those are little things that can have a really big impact, but it stacks up. Yeah. And so often people think that it's fundamentals.
You're stacking.
People think that it's this huge thing in the marriage that was like, But no, a lot of times it could be these small things, and it was like that just happened to be the straw that broke the camel's back. Like that was the final thing, but there were all of these examples leading up.
You're right, and we talked about this in the last episode, but let's go back to your representative. Your representative, who were you showing me in the beginning? I need you to go back to that because that's who I fell in love with. Don't pump fake me.
Come on, you gave me, Lions playing the Ravens. You didn't gave me the Lamar Jackson, had the ball here and pulled it out as soon as I was about to make the tackle. Yeah. Don't 42 fake me, and it happens a lot. Yeah. And also, I just want to say too, from people seeing, because you touched on something that was important. You get to that phase, 5 to 7 years, people are on social media, you're looking at maybe the high school sweetheart, the ex, the whoever, and it's like, oh, what are they up to? What's their... Remember that they're also putting forth their best exterior.
Right.
So don't always
especially on social media.
Especially on social. Do not always think that the grass is greener, that, oh man, so-and-so, he's got the perfect family, he's on the private jet, blah, blah. Meanwhile, he's in serious debt. Things aren't what they seem, but you're like, oh, I need to leave so-and-so that I'm with. And it just real quick, I saw another just really powerful example. And right now, social media, there's so many people that are so money and monetary focused. And a lot of people are going through their struggles or their challenges, which happens. And especially as, the man of the household or the husband, you can feel like, man, I've got to be this provider. And if I'm ever in a situation where I'm going through a low and I'm not providing, man, I'm like questioning the manhood and all of those things. But it talked about the fact of you could have your man or your partner be willing to give you his last $5, but you feel like that's chump change, and somebody else over here is willing to give you $50 or $500, but they've got, that's not their last. So it's actually way more meaningful and impactful that somebody would be
the
value that they'd be willing to give you their last, that they would be willing to not eat so that you could have something to eat with their last $5, versus somebody that might have threw 50, but it was like, oh, if that was their last 50, you wouldn't have seen a cent. And sometimes that is like a disconnect, that someone actually really loves you this much, but you're chasing just the fact that somebody dangled because they've got a little bit more.
So I'm going to add to that. I heard this quote just yesterday. It said, "A fool knows the price of everything, but knows the value of nothing." I'm going to leave that there. Let's jump into the next phase. So now, y'all, we're past the 5 to 7. We're past the disappointment, the struggle. We've made it. We're in the 7 to 15 years. So we're jumping
this
on
the next jump. 7 to 15
we're jumping in the next.
We jumped into a window.
Well, but you're seeing when you can get past that 7, we're adding another 7 just on top of that. So you're going to be compounding. Yeah. This is the stability phase. This is
building that foundation.
Right. The routines, they feel natural. The trust is deepened. You are really being able to be stable in, I know exactly who you are. You know exactly who I am. We have our routine. We know each other enough, hopefully, right? You know each other enough to where it's stable. It's familiar. I know and understand it. Now, with that on the flip side, that's when you start hearing people get the what is it called? The marriage boredom. I heard that the other day, something like that. The marriage boredom. You start taking each other for granted in the stability phase.
Oh, they just gonna be there.
They're just gonna be there.
They're just gonna be there.
They're just gonna be.
Oh, that's just
so I can either keep treating them as I have been and not make any changes because they're gonna be there. We're stable. We're fine. You're going nowhere. You're used to this.
I've got it. We got kids. They're not going nowhere.
They're not going anywhere. Which don't ever underestimate anybody. Don't ever underestimate anybody because you will be made a fool quickly. And so, the stability phase. And that's even, we're 9 years in, so that we also feel that. Like, we feel that stability. We know and understand each other. We know our routines. I know what you like. I know what you dislike. We're very much in that phase. But the 7 to 15, and when I first, was doing my research, I said, whoa, that's a big jump right there. But that makes sense, especially for the couples that we've talked to too, that are in that phase as well. They essentially talk the same as we do, just being stable.
Yeah, and as I think about the 9-year mark too, you've had enough time together that you've been through. You should have gone through some triumphs, some tragedies. You've gone through some
a couple of versions of yourself.
Oh my gosh, you've gone through some different variations. Like if you just think of what's happened in the world in 9 years. I mean, you're talking about pandemic. We're talking about like there's been massive change and shifts that have happened. Where it's like, I mean, if you think about how many people that like just going through COVID with somebody and like
that was a make or break for a lot of people.
What?
Yeah.
But also, how many people too? Let's keep it all the way 100. Were in situationships.
Yes.
Right.
And now we're shacked up.
Now all of a
sudden we got a baby.
Now we got a baby. Now I'm getting pressure to marry you. And I had a wise man once also said, "Don't compound a mistake
with another mistake."
So if you were with somebody and you already saw the red flags, you already were like, ooh, but you have a baby together and you made that decision, which, hey, you make the decision, right? That's one thing. But then don't feel like, oh my gosh, because we had the baby, I've got to marry this person because of that. When I know they're not the person, but I'm just going to do it because it's the right thing to do. No.
Or that's what my family's
telling me. That's what my family's telling me.
Her family's telling me.
Pause.
Yeah, it's your life.
It's your life.
It's your life.
And it's a lot easier to figure out co-parenting and that situation early on than to then get married. You've added another kid, you added more time. You're now in a situation where it's like, oh my gosh. And how many people do we know that are stuck in that situation? And now it's like, well, we'll just wait until the kids go off to college, or it's just it's so interwound, but they're not happy.
And that's a big chunk of your life. That's a big chunk of your life where, to your point, if you called it a mistake, right? But if there was a mistake, you're hopefully not compounding on top of that. But the other thing that I quickly wanted to mention too was, I think it is something where, let's just quickly go back to that disappointment struggle phase. Although that is the phase where most people do get divorced, if you are able to push through, that's what we're saying. But then there is the times where in that phase, and if you know, especially for women, it's something, it's hard to describe. I've heard multiple women say it to me, but it was just kind of enough is enough. I'm done. I'm not going to keep putting myself in this situation, my kids in this situation. We know that we're not meant to either be together or that we can't work through these issues. So then maybe it is a separation, right? And you can come back because you're working on the relationship, or maybe it is just dissolving the relationship. We, as advocates of marriage, are hoping that's not the case, but I don't want people to feel as if we are saying like, don't quit, they know that it's a situation where I need to move past this. Yeah,
you absolutely have to do what's healthy for you,
especially if you know you're in a toxic relationship.
And that's where you mentioned the yellow and the red flags, right? And hopefully you see those beforehand.
Yeah.
But if someone had their representative going and then you go through a hardship or a tragedy and they end up turning into someone else, or these behaviors start to reveal themselves. A perfect example, I mean, you see, unfortunately, domestic violence and things like that, right? And you even see it on the news with different athletes, professional, people, all of these different situations. But I just use that as an example. If someone's reaction when they get upset is raising their voice or putting their hands on you, those are red flags of either they need to get some help and some anger management, work on how like that situation, but you don't want to, like you said, keep yourself in a toxic or even a dangerous situation, or for your kids, things like that. Right. And that's either way, because I didn't realize how many men were getting abused as well.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. So that 5 to 7, the disappointment and struggle phase, the 7 to 15 is the stability phase. Now let's get into the 15 to 25 years.
That's on the horizon. We're looking out. We're planning ahead there with 15 to 25.
Yes, 15 to 20. That's your growth and renewal. So you're starting talking about it's rediscovery. There's new goals. Things feel a little bit more fresh because you have shared values. You're starting to look at things more for, we've been through so much already, and it's kind of that reflection where we're looking back on what we've done for those past 15 to 25 years, and we're seeing, wow, we've made it through. We were able to just have incredible success despite whatever your circumstances may be, but it's really that growth and renewal phase.
Yeah, I mean, and just even thinking about it, because I didn't a lot of times imagine myself not just married, but like visualize myself at like 50 or, like me being a grandparent and all of these things. So sometimes you gotta like have those conversations. Like, what is it going to be like? Are we going to be in a rocking chair and like out on the front porch? No, but for real, right? Like, what is this? What is retirement and all of these
Thankfully,
things?
we have some time.
We do. We have lots of time. But you get where I'm going of
do.
just like having the discussion of what does that life look like? And hopefully, as you're making these plans or having this dialogue and discovery, you are visualizing your partner being on that porch with you.
Right.
Or you're visualizing experiencing the world. Because a lot of times, right, like right now more than ever, people are in that grind phase. Like you may be, and we've been in it. Like we've gone through like you said, there's no holidays where you are off work, right? For me, I couldn't just watch the game on Monday, Thursday, Sunday. Like we're working. Like it's just like, that's the reality. But then to be able to be like, hey, we're going to travel and go to a Lions game or a Patriot game, or we're going to go experience these things, being able to visualize and plan that out. What does that look like 10, 15 years from now? And those can be things that are aspirational on your vision board, things that you maybe write on your bucket list, and having your individual bucket list, but then why not have one together of things that y'all want to accomplish and do together?
Yes. I think this is also a great opportunity if you are a couple to chat with other couples that have been married this long, that have been married the 15 plus years, the 20, 25 years, because it's getting to a point now where being married 5 years is a milestone. Oh my gosh.
1 year.
You're like, wow, you guys are doing it. But then realizing, no, this is a lifetime. Like we have so many more years to go. But then also you're talking, if you are, let's say, right, you're in that disappointment and struggle phase, talk to somebody that's in that growth and renewal phase. Or above. And you're going to start to hear things differently. You're going to start to hear, maybe we were there and this is how we changed our mindset, how we reignited, all of those things. I think that's a really great opportunity. Now let's get into the last phase, which is the legacy phase. Mm-hmm. You've been married 25 plus years. Okay.
Put that time in.
We've put the time in.
We've
put the time. We've been through so many things. We've gotten through them. We have just built, we've renewed, we've grown, all of those things. But this is when it starts becoming about impact. You start looking back and seeing, okay, we have our kids. Our kids are 25 years, your kids may be grown. They may be getting married and starting their own families. Yeah. What has your impact been on them? You're starting to look back and seeing where you've been able to touch the people around you in a way that is showing others that you can make it. You can get here. Might take some time. You're going to have your bumps and bruises, but you're going to get here. We're also talking about alignment. This is true alignment on legacy. We just want to be able to give back. We just want to be able to show others what this looks like on the other end. And then marriage is now a mission. This has just been our mission. This has been something where, it feels like a mission. 25 years. Yeah. We've been doing this for quite some time. And this also may be where you start talking to the younger couples and start, just giving back in that mentorship role too. I think that's really key.
Yeah. And then when you talk about putting that much time in, you now can look back at the path that you've been able to pave. But like you said, when you talk about that legacy, what have I been able to now see harvest from what I planted over the past decades, right? Whether that's business, marriage, right? Your kids, all of that now, like you said, time will either promote you or expose you. And that's what's going to be revealed is, man, look at your thriving family. Look at all the hard work that you did, right? And for some people, it's like, man, people are sharing the stories of the mistake they made.
Correct.
I wish I wouldn't have been doing this. Man, I wish I would have really
spent more time with my family. Maybe I wasn't, working as much. That's Correct. What we start hearing too around that phase.
A lot. You start hearing that a lot because now the money,
and what's your relationship like with your kids?
Correct.
That's when you start seeing it really starts to develop. Are they coming back and do they want to be around you? And sometimes if they don't, this can go back to a certain
phase. The question is why?
Right. And start asking yourself that. So yes, man, we talked about the 6 phases of marriage that, really from the honeymoon phase, the reality check, the disappointment and struggle, the stability phase, growth and renewal, and lastly is the legacy. Anything else you want to add?
I would say lastly, just having even sometimes treating like the marriage, there can be dual like responsibilities, but you all are like co-captains on this, call it a ship, right? But you want to make sure that you're sailing towards the same port or the same path. And then also knowing that everybody can have different responsibilities and duties, right? Like you literally can be collaborative and treat the marriage that way of what are your strengths, what are my strengths, how do we come together for the best like mission and best legacy outcome that we want to be able to achieve. And I think the more that you can come down to that financially and come down to that foundationally, and then getting the help, whether that's therapy or, a relationship counselor, just building on the resources that you share, game changer.
Yeah, I agree. If this helped you today, please send this to somebody that may need it, or send it to your partner so that they can listen to it. Have the open dialogue. We always say you want to be hot, which is humble, open, and transparent. If you are following us on YouTube and watching this, please like and subscribe, and let us know in the comments where you are maybe in your stage and how you're feeling. If you're watching us on social media at CoupleyFit, CoupleyFit, please make sure that you let us know, DM us, and let us know how you are feeling about this episode. And as always, keep growing, glowing, and feeling better together. Bye.